Okay, this video is all about thinking about your content. When you as a designer are given content, you have to actually understand that content. You have to think about what are the relationships and groupings in this content. And so I want to point you to a handout that is available on our webpage, where I say information design is all about relationships, right? And so we're making these two main types of relationships. We're making hierarchical, so we're separating things based on their importance, right? So I want you to know this the most, this the least, and we're connecting things. So we're grouping things, or separation can be part of grouping, right? So that you see there can be some overlapping here, but this one has something about importance, and this one's about, just things being separate. And we usually do that through the way we put things close or far apart, whether we align things together and kind of their position on the page. And then, of course, we connect things through a consistency of style, right? So these are all the things that we'll be doing, right? And what we're ultimately doing is we're encoding, right, some kind of a value to these things, some hierarchical value, connective value, and we need to think like these are paragraphs, these are titles, these are records, these are sections, right? These are the things that we're encoding, and it's up to the viewer to decode these things, and successful looks like scannable and digestible, and in this case, in this information design. And so going back to our list here, you have to actually understand the content. And what I'm presenting you with is a list of bird records. So you have these individual records of birds, and they're in various groupings. And so you should think about that. So we have to assign values to these things. So the first thing you see is this Raptors of Iowa, and that's going to be a headline on its own. And so for that one, I'm gonna ignore that one for right now. We'll do a video later about that. Next we see, hawks, accipiters, sharp-shinned hawk, all these things. What you basically have to do is think about what do all these things mean. Now, usually if someone gives you to this, there might be a little more visual cues than I'm giving you in this very plain list. But really the only difference we have is that a new line is started with each piece of information. So we really have to look at what we have. I would say this is a headline, right? So this is its own thing. And then we have this hawks followed by some stuff, and this, if we go down, we have this owls. So those are like maybe our sub headlines, right? Those we obviously are setting up the context that we have. The entire thing is a list of raptors in Iowa. Then we have these two sections. One is on hawks and one is on owls. And so that's the headlines for those sections. Then further, as we get into those sections, and now you wouldn't know this is where you'd have to maybe ask a content expert, or do things on your own. Figure out things on your own by research. We have accipiters, and we have somewhere in here, where do we have it? It would be buteos. Here it is right here. Buteos, I don't know how it's pronounced. But those are two subgroups of hawks, right? So that's giving us these new sections that we have. Same with owls. We have typical owls, and we have barn owls. And so that's a headline to that subgroup. And then each thing after that is one record of a bird. So we have these records have their own hierarchy and connections, right? Now, obviously, they're connected. They're one group, so each one of these is its own group. But we have the bird name. We have its Latin name. We have kind of some categories of information, and we have some descriptive text. So these are all the things that we need to think out, and you'll see how this plays out through design, how I separate all these things as you follow along.